Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. This is the parliamentarian session. And we have the co-chairs, Mr. Eduardo Klein. There's no introduction is necessary, and he's a very famous person and very intelligent and very active in this issue. The second chairperson, co-chair, is Honorable Ms. Ermalena Muslim Hasbullah. She's from Indonesia and AFPPD's National Committee, Indonesian Forum of Parliamentarians and Population Development. She's heading this member association for us, and she's a champion of women's and gender equality issues, as well as other social issues, including aging. So on this note, please, co-chairs, please start.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We are honored to have two key presenters here, and my co-facilitator, Honorable Ms. Ermalena, will lead during the session. But we know Professor Keizo Takemi. We heard his presentation yesterday, and the comments I have heard from different participants is that it was excellent to hear the lessons learned from the most advanced aging country in the world, both in the things that they had done well and the shortcomings that they had in some policies, some actions. So we are very honored to have again Professor Takemi, and we have the Chief Whip of Bangladesh, Honorable Feroz, who will be also making a presentation, and Honorable Mr. Jet, who will be, I don't pronounce your last name, is Sirataranon, yeah, and I think I got it right. I've been practicing all morning, Sirataranon. So we'll be having three very focused country experiences that will illustrate the challenges of aging. And having said that, I'll pass to Ms. Ermalena to introduce the speakers.
Okay, thank you, Eduardo. Besides of the three presenters, we also have two panels. Ms. Panesha Steinmeier, later on I have to explain about you. And another one is Mega Irene here. Mega Irene. Okay. Yeah, we have a limitation time. We only have 1.5 hours. We have 5 persons to explain about the new thing, what we can done for the aging for the future, especially in our country. I want to give a time first for the Honorable Professor Keizo Takemi. Yesterday, you already explained a lot of things about what happened in your country and also for the Asian. I think now we try to make a little deep what the parliamentarian can do together, not only in our country, but for the Asian and also for other countries. Because the case of the Japan, this must be experience for all of us. I think I not want to read about you because everybody know already. Okay, I give time for Mr. Keizo Takemi, please. Now your time.
Thank you very much, co-chairs. I'm so delighted having this wonderful occasion again to talk about our experiences. As I mentioned yesterday, we did a lot of mistakes, but so far, finally, we could reach the final stage how to overcome the most serious super aging society. Traditionally, the Japanese value system, which emphasized filial piety and respect for older people, has placed primary responsibility for the support of older people on families. Throughout the 20th century, Japan developed rapidly from an agricultural based society to a high-value industrial and a service-based society. After World War II ended, the rapid industrialization and urbanization have produced a steady change in the population structure and traditional social patterns in Japan. The rapid population aging was a consequence of this remarkable success. A second consequence was equally rapid change from the social forms of agricultural communities to those of modern urban social life. These changes have had important implications for health and welfare policies in Japan. Major demographic, economic, and social changes in Japan issues such as access, the benefits, the cost, the quality of care, and particularly the respective role of central and local governments have become crucial factors for creation of an economically and a politically sustainable framework for the development and funding of a long-term care system. As I mentioned yesterday, 1970, the aging started in a very speedy way. And then the social welfare that became an important national goal in the late 1940s. During the 1950s and 60s, new public assistance laws significantly improved the living conditions and welfare of older people. In 1973, a system free medical care services for older people was introduced. This was a big mistake, actually. Under the democratic system, most of the policymakers wanted to have the high popularity among the voters. But in order to get such a high popularities, the cost was huge. As a result of the free charge for the elderly population to access to the medical services, those of the elderly people rushed to the hospital and then hospitalized as an inpatient. And then the health expenditures became huge, and then cause of the collapse of the budget deficit. So this is a really unfortunate vicious cycle. But the trigger was policy makers, the individual interest to gain the more high popularity. So we should be very, very careful. And then, however, to cope with the increasing healthcare demands of older people, cost sharing and the arrangement along with co-payments by older patients was adopted in 1983. The public pension system was restructured in 1985 to cater to the projected aging of the population, and retirement benefits were rationalized. The Japanese government developed and implemented the 10-year strategy to promote healthcare and welfare for the elderly, known as the Gold Plan, in December 1989 to cope with increased and expensive social admission to general hospitals and the inadequate supply of both home care and nursing home and social services, and the perceived decline in the capacity of families to provide care for elderly relatives. The Gold Plan represented a major shift from long-term institutionalized care in hospitals and nursing homes to home programs and the community-based rehabilitation facilities. At the same time, the government formulated the plan to make the long-term care services universally available to older persons. However, existing arrangement based on the Gold Plan for long-term care published during the 1990s were proving expensive and unsuitable for the anticipated major expansion in the demand under the speedy aging. It became obvious that the financing mechanism was necessary due to the growing the care sector and the reliance of the financing social care system on taxation, and hence the subject to the budget restraints. Before we introduced the long-term care insurance in 2000, we had only the financial resources that came from the taxpayers' money only. And then the municipality was in charge to deliver the services to the elderly people in a community level. Therefore, actually, there are no choices for those elderly people only one services conducted by the municipality. And then we try to widen financial resources, not only from the taxpayers' money, but also from the premium of the public health long-term care insurance. So as a result of the introduction of the long-term insurance system, now we have two financial resources, one from the taxpayers' money, one from the premium. More than 40 years old Japanese have to pay the premium for the long-term care insurance system. Therefore, in addition to the co-payment, the 10% co-payment is the total financial resources for the elderly care services. But as I mentioned yesterday, next slide, please. Yes. You know, the people, elderly people, gradually become independent, not independent, become isolated. They living independently alone or with spouse. Now only 50% of our people live with the children. The 50% live alone. And then next, please. And then this is a very shocking data. 1951, 82.5% of the elderly person died at home. Family took care the final stage. However, now 12.4% only could die at home. This is the reality. Happened as a result of our policy making for the elderly people. I can tell you in the first stage when we started to make a decision for those of the aging populations, we had a huge confidence on the family function. Japanese had a large family, and Japanese had a large confidence on ourselves. But actually, as a result, to socialize those services for those elderly population instead of the family member, actually, family function has actually collapsed. How we should do in Asia as a whole. And then next, please. This is the population pyramid. The change in Japan's population pyramid. Look at the baby boomers' position in this pyramid. The baby boomers getting old, and then had a huge impact on the structure change of this pyramid. And then also we have to take into account baby boomers, the daughters and sons. You know, the most serious the positions we are getting when the baby boomers, sons and daughters getting old to be over 65. Then no any younger generation can support baby boomers, sons and daughter. Maybe this sort of things happened in late 2020. Next, please. As a result of the huge and the speedy aging, the trend and the future prospect of the long-term care benefits and premiums become higher and higher. When we introduced the long-term health care insurance in 2000, the benefits total cost was the 4.6 trillion. The premium is very cheap at that time, the 2,911 yen, approximately 3,000 yen. But now, in 2016, the benefits total cost is 10.1 trillion, 3 times bigger. and the premium becomes nearly 600, more than 6,000, 2 times bigger. But gradually, the physical condition of the municipalities cannot accept such sort of increasing expenditure for the long-term care insurance, and all the head of the mayor head of the municipalities should take a very serious political risks to increase the charge of the premium. You can imagine, decide to increase the charge of the premium for their own inhabitants who has the borders is a really, really risky political decision for the mayors. And then next, please. Once again, this graph shows that the extension of the healthy life expectancy is the most important subject for our health policy making as a whole. In addition to reduce the gap between the healthy life expectancy and life expectancy. This is the real paradigm shift, especially over 75 years old persons. Our baby boomers generation will be over 75 by 2025. At that time, 1 in 5 our total population become over 75 years old. And over 75 years old persons will spend 46% of our total health expenditure. How we can manage such sort of a health expenditure become the most serious subject. One of the most important solutions is to extend healthy life expectancy. In addition to that, we have to give the occasion for the healthy elderly people to continuously work, gain some income to be independent life. And then the younger generations, the burden for the aging can be modified in a much more drastic way. This is a positive cycle under the aging. How policymakers can design this positive cycle under the aging is the most important decision making we have to do. Next, please. And then finally, we decided to focus on the home care services, inpatient service in hospitals, and inpatient service for the nursing home spend a lot of money. Therefore, we try to move the inpatient from the hospital to home. In order to do that, we have to strengthen our capacity to deliver the services for in-home services, both the medical services and also the routine life support services. How to combine the two different services at home is not the easy job. It's depend upon the family, the values, and also traditions and the religions. So many factors we have to take into account when we design for the services to the patient at home. Therefore, we should organize the specified team which consists of the medical doctor, nurse, elderly care workers, and also the farmers, and also the dentist. And then the team, jointly collaborate each other to deliver the services for the patient at home. This is the new challenge. We called it integrated community care system. This integrated community care system, if we can successfully generate this system to the people in everywhere, not in a local area, but in an urban area, it is obvious that the senior students can be much more happy they can spend their own time at the last stage of their life with families. And then also the total expenditure can be managed in a most efficient way. Therefore, in Asia, still you have a wonderful family function, and you still live together with your parents, and then take care your parents at home. Please keep this framework of the families to take care their parents at home. But important thing is that how the government, including municipalities, can deliver the right kind of services in a most efficient way to the elderly persons at home in age. This policy should be given the highest priority. And then we can avoid to increase the inpatient at the hospital for the elderly persons and avoid too much expenditure for health care, which will be the cause of the budget huge deficit in the government. So you can do it, but Japan did make a lot of mistakes. So you have followers' advantages. Please enjoy your followers' advantages and pick up the right decision. Thank you very much.
As usual, exceptional presentation from Professor Takemi, and one of the points that he highlights is how at different stages of aging, Japan has been taking decisions, some of them right, some of them untimely, many of them timely. So one of the key questions perhaps that will come is what triggers the political will to take a decision? What are the factors that make the legislators, the governments to take the decisions on time? But may I?
Okay, thank you. This is a very serious problem, especially for my country. The population too big. It's more danger than Japan, maybe for the future. Okay, now it's time for the Honorable Jet Sirat Ramon. I want to read a little bit about Mr. Sirat Ramon. Mr. Sirat Ramon has been the Secretary General of Asian Forum of Parliamentarians Population Development since 2014, and medical doctor, has been working in health issues and legislator in his capacity as current chairperson of the Thailand National Legislative Assembly. And Mr. Sirat Ramon, now is your turn, please.
His Excellency, Honorable distinguished guests, for Thailand pilot project on community-based elderly. Yeah. This is an overview of Thailand aging situation right now. By the year 2025, it is expected to be 20% on the population aging more than 60 years. This year is 14.8%. Thailand was also ranked the third most rapidly aging country in 2012, with women being the majority of the elderly population. On the positive side, we do recognize this challenge, and one among there is long-term care for the elderly, or homebound and bedbound elders. And there have been strategic strategy made on provide solution. Our Ministry of Public Health had recognized that long-term care should be part of Thailand's strategic plans. And it had been for our health strategic plan for the elderly in 2008, and our second national plan for older persons that is set until 2021. The idea is that a long-term care solution needs to include both family support, which had been traditionally followed in Thailand, but it also needs an effective supporting system with support in healthcare and social services. On the positive side, we do recognize this challenge, and one among them are for the elderly or long-term care. I mean the homebound and bedbound elder. And there have been strategies made to provide solutions. Our Ministry of Public Health has recognized that long-term care should be part of Thailand's strategic plan, and it had been for our health strategic plan for the elderly in 2008 and our second national plan for older persons that is set until 2021, as I said. Although Thailand has succeeded in 30 baht scheme or universal health coverage in 14 years, because of limited budget, we have just started long-term care campaign with government budget in this year only. The government has allocated budget for long-term care of 600 million baht or 18 million US dollar in the fiscal year 2016 and increased to 900 million baht or 25 million US dollar in the fiscal year 2017. The budget is excluded from universal health coverage. In Thailand, our new constitution that has just passed referendum will provide family doctor that will go with physiotherapist and nurse in multidisciplinary team to see homebound and bedbound or long-term care that assume about 1.3 million elders all over Thailand. A long-term care solution needs to include both family support, government official, public health volunteer, and effective supporting system in healthcare and social services. So we see the strategy, but we also have many challenges. The main ones are community level implementation, that this budget is used effectively. Here we have a case study of a project called Long-Term Care Services Development for the Frail Elderly and Other Vulnerable People, or LTOP. The LTOP project was launched in 2013 and is conducted in 6 areas all over Thailand. There's a country in Chiang Rai at the north, Khon Kaen and Nakhon Ratchasima at the northeastern, Nonthaburi close to Bangkok, and Bangkok. That's a 6 area. There's a pilot project. The project focused on 3 components. One is long-term care service model development. The second is a transmission of advanced long-term care skill. The third is policy recommendation. Long LTOP timeline and past activity. Here we have a timeline of the project activity from 2013 to 2016. Keep in mind these are only examples of activity. The activity range from workshop, group seminar, research, and data analysis. The 3 components mentioned before are color-coded in 3 colors. And as you can see, they are quite well balanced each year. Each year, there were activity under long-term care services model development, some under policy recommendation, some training of skill. This is a holistic approach, and this is important for sustainability. On this slide, I will go into more detail of the activity from the timeline. Under long-term care service model development, you have activity like care plan, preparation, research, data collection and analysis. For example, survey have been sent out to 6 project sites in 2015, January to March, and again from June to August. Under transmission of advanced long-term care skill, you have activity like training on care management and for care worker. Usually, they involve 12 to 15 trainees from the project site, the Ministry of Public Health, and the Ministry of Social Development and Human Security. The trainee who attended the training can participate in future training as lecturer. This is important for sustainability. Under policy recommendation, activity include training, discussion, and seminar involving policymakers, researchers, and experts from both the Thai and Japanese side. Conclusion. As we have seen, Thailand is aging rapidly, but we have also seen effort being made to prepare for this change, particularly for long-term care for the elderly. We have seen the LTOP project as a case study. From this, we have seen how important it is to cooperate and share experience, in this case with Japan. We have seen how important it is to think for the long term, to ensure that the project will be sustainable, and how important to involve many stakeholders from both the Thai and Japanese side. But the project also had challenges like community level implementation and adopting the concept of care manager as more than volunteering work. Thailand has followed Japan, but in the same footstep that I think that Japan spent a lot of budget or a lot of money. We learn from Japanese experience So that's the way of Thailand. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jet. A couple of years ago, I met a Japanese expert who was working with the ministry in this conveying this experience. And I think this is an example of collaboration in the development of, in the design of systems that are appropriate for each country. And I think Thailand is breaking way, is giving example of how to integrate from community levels upwards. Yeah. And I think that's a unique, a very good example of ways forward.
Thank you, Dorado. This is another experience from Thailand, 2 countries already. And now, Honorable Mr. S.M. Feroz, Member of Parliament and Chief Whip. Honorable is Mr. Feroz serves as a Chief Whip in the 10th Parliament, Chair of the House Committee, President of Parliament Member Club, President of Parliament Member Forum of Climate Change, and President of the Bangladesh-South Korea Parliamentary Friendship Group. And Honorable Feroz also is member active of the Bangladesh Association of the Parliamentarian Population and Development, and also with the National Committee of the AFPPD. Now is your term, maybe another experience compared with Japan and Thailand. Please, this is your time.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable Member of Parliament, delegations from government and non-government organizations, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning and welcome to attend this session. I am going to deliver my speech in the role of parliamentarians in creating active agencies, aging societies. As a member of Bangladesh Parliament, it is my pleasure to say something on this point, on these topics before you all. Before going to topics, I would like to show you a short video to know about Bangladesh as well as its recent development trends.
এবারে সংগ্রাম আমাদের মুক্তির সংগ্রাম, এবারে সংগ্রাম স্বাধীনতার সংগ্রাম। জয় বাংলা।
Resilient, hard-working, proud. These are the defining characteristics of the people of Bangladesh, the only nation to have achieved independence through a liberation war in the 20th century. Led by the charismatic leader and father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Bangladeshis young and old took up the call to arms and emerged victorious with a new nation. This was the beginning of a new dawn. From early years, the indomitable spirit of the people translated to triumphs in diverse arenas. From pharmaceuticals and telecommunications to shipbuilding and solar power, Bangladesh has achieved milestone after milestone. Today, we have reached major targets outlined in the UN Millennium Development Goals, including reduction in extreme poverty and hunger, gender equality and women's empowerment, reduction in child mortality, and disease control. We have tripled our food production and have achieved an unprecedented level of food security for the population. In terms of social indicators, our achievements in inclusive growth and in reducing inequality have been lauded globally. Another major achievement has been in rural healthcare through community clinics that provide medical services to communities across the country. We are also successfully tackling the challenges of climate change through focused and timely efforts with our own resources. For e-services and rural connectivity, we have established a nationwide network of Union Digital Centers, which are one-stop information resources operating in all 4,547 Union Parishads, the lowest tier of local government. As we go forward, we are committed to carry on in the same vein. Vision 2021 is an articulation of planned initiatives aimed at holistic development. The ultimate objective is to drive inclusive growth that benefits the most number of people in a sustainable way. It is a multifaceted approach to improving the lives of Bangladeshis with emphasis on poverty reduction, education, energy generation, infrastructure, healthcare, ICT, and food production. The seventh five-year plan, spanning fiscal year 2016 to fiscal year 2020, lays down key targets aligned with the overarching goals of Vision 2021. Important macroeconomic targets include achieving exports of $55 billion by 2020 and FDI of close to $10 billion. Job creation is also a key target with planned expansion of the manufacturing sector. For gender equality and women's empowerment, a key target is raising female-to-male ratio in tertiary education from 70% to 100%. Energy generation targets include increasing capacity to 23,000 megawatt and improving energy efficiency to achieve nationwide coverage. Major infrastructural targets include construction of Podda Bridge and 26 kilometers of elevated expressway to substantially reduce urban traffic congestion. Bangladesh's success in fulfilling its MDG targets also makes it a forerunner to reach the goals outlined in the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. With a government that works for the people, the future looks bright for Bangladesh, and the promise of Vision 2021 is set to become a reality.
Our long-term goal is to give our young people the skills to turn them into truly global citizens. Our young men and women will be our front runners in turning Bangladesh into a middle-income country by 2021 and a developed country by 2041.
As technology hurtles forward and global commerce becomes even more intertwined, Bangladesh will keep pace with the world with large-scale initiatives set to transform the landscape. We have come a long way from the early days of independence, and a once fledgling nation is fast becoming a global model for growth and development, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. Come, join us in our journey as we explore the limitless possibilities of the future.
Dear participants, in the recent decades, the composition of the world population changed dramatically. The aging of the world populations is driven by the two trends. First, there has been a dramatic increase in life expectancy. Second, as a result of more effective birth control and improved education, there has been an equal dramatic decline in fertility rates. As you know, in 1950, the worldwide average life expectancy was 48 years. In 2010, it has been 68 years. And it is estimated that average life expectancy will be 81 years by the end of this century. This dramatic shift has been deep consequence to the world. Keeping this situation in mind, this year, member state of the World Health Organization at the 69th World Health Assembly adopted Global Strategy and Action Plan on Aging and Health 2016-2020. Dear participants, if we look back to the political declaration and Madrid International Plan of Actions on Aging 2002, we will find our responsibility to integrate global aging to process the development. Not only as a parliamentarian, but also a citizen, we all have important role to create active aging society. Now I would like to discuss about the current situation of Bangladesh, what the government is doing and what we need to do for creating an active aging societies. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we achieved our independence in 1971 under the leadership of our father of the nations, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Since the independence, the Bangladesh is working seriously on the health and family planning indicators. The remarkable success of the present government of Bangladesh in the development of health and health sector under the leadership of our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, daughter of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, in average age of the people is rising. As a result, elderly people of Bangladesh are growing rapidly. Distinguished guests, keeping this in mind and considering the global situation, aged people, the government has taken various programs for them. The daughter of Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the Honorable Prime Minister, Government of People's Republic of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, has introduced Old Age Allowances Program in 1998. Social safety net remains an important focus for the government. Our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina introduced fair market price for the senior citizens. They can buy 1 kilogram of rice by 8 cents only, whether the market price is more than 50 cents. Allowances of widow and distressed women, vulnerable group development VGD, vulnerable group feedings VGF, test relief GR, food for works, cash for works, etc. are maintainable from the social safety net providing the government of Bangladesh. Financial allocations are increasing every year under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Distinguished delegations, in Bangladesh, traditionally, the elderly are the guardian and advisor of the society. Elderly peoples are respected by the family, society, and even by the nation. But due to globalization and various social economic reasons, the traditional values of the customs are not maintaining properly. For this reason, to support the vulnerable families, government has initiated Old Homes Program in 6 divisions of the country in 2015 to 16, which are run by the Department of Social Service under the Ministry of Social Welfare. Besides this, a pilot project of old home at 12 Shishu Paribar orphanage in 7 divisions with 10 seats. Each has launched experimentally recently. After successful completion of pilot, it will be scaled up throughout the country gradually. Dear participants, we have formulated our national policy on older persons in 2013. We have declared the citizens above 60 years as senior citizens. Bangladesh has enacted the Parents' Care Act in 1930. A good number of national and international well-reputed NGOs are working for the welfare of the elderly people of Bangladesh. Their works are very praiseworthy and government has highest cooperation for them. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as a parliamentarian, we are the guardian of the people of our constituency. We can promote active aging society concept among the people in the development activities in their and in the area of lawmaking. The parliamentarians have the authority to enact or amend the laws, policies and strategies program. They can influence to allocate appropriate budget to implement welfare programs regarding aging society. Parliamentarians are have to voice to the people of their constituency. They are the political frontliner of the mass people. In their every speech of the public, regardless issue, they should promote the active aging locally. The parliamentarians can go beyond the border to create global form of active aging. The parliamentarians of Bangladesh are actively working on the population's development under the leadership of our Honorable Speaker of the House, Dr. Shirin Sharmin Chaudhry. Members of Bangladesh Parliament are involved in the population's development issues under the Bangladesh Association of Parliamentarians on Populations and Development, BAPPD. I am also the member of the committee. Dear participants, elderly people are respected by the family, society, and even by the nations. Keeping them at home will help the families to reduce the excessive burden of child care cost. We and our fellow politicians can promote the honor and dignity of the aging people to create healthy society. Finally, we can say that active aging is an essential persons of the society, and parliamentarians can contribute a lot to make a smart, sustainable, and inclusive aging society. If we want, we the parliamentarian can do a better world for all ages. That's all from me. I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you all for being with us through these sessions. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Honorable Feroz. Before we pass to Ms. Armalina, who will introduce the discussions, just take into account that we have heard the 3 scenarios of aging present in Asia that were mentioned yesterday. The experience of Japan, the most aged society, the very rapidly aging case of Thailand, but very, very rapidly in the next years, Thailand will shoot up in the proportion of aged population, and the case of Bangladesh, where there is an aging process, but still a bit more time to adapt to these conditions. So 3 levels of urgency. And now Ms. Ermalina will introduce the discussants.
Yeah, it's very interesting, 3 countries. The question is what we can done. Because we are parliaments, I think we can use our power in our country, how to make more better than. Now we come to our panelists. One panelist is, number 1 is Mrs. Vanessa Steinmeier, Population Affairs Officer, Social Development Division of UNESCO. Vanessa Steinmeier is a Population Affairs Officer in the Social Development Division of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission of Asia and the Pacific in Bangkok. We work areas included analysis of population aging, included analysis of the advocating on the established person system, and the review of the major international plan of action and aging and international merit, and well other areas of the social policy analysis. She has a PhD in economic and work experience in Asia, Africa, and Middle East, and Europe. Now it's your turn.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for giving me the floor. I'm pleased to provide some thoughts, not necessarily directly on all the presentations, rather on the question, what can parliamentarians do? And I was thinking to talk first a little bit on what can ASCAP do to support parliamentarians, because in talks, in coffee breaks, I realized that to many ASCAP is not really known. ASCAP is one of the 5 regional commissions of the United Nations, and we work primarily with governments. We do not work in the field. And our aim is to provide knowledge products. For example, we have done studies on long-term care in several countries, also on income support system for older persons. And ideally, for example, parliamentarians could use our knowledge products to have evidence when a policy proposal is submitted in Parliament. And in our knowledge products, we also provide policy suggestions. So actually, in case you use our products, this would actually be great feedback if you can write us that this was used in Parliament and contributed to shape the policy. This would actually be a great success factor to us. And last, but actually the most important thing, I just mentioned it at this point to come to my further points. ASCAP, or the United Nations as a whole, provides an intergovernmental platform and comes up with global and regional action plans. So one action plan is the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging. I am sure you're familiar with it. And parliamentarians can use this action plan actually to propose policies and also actually challenge the government. What have you done? Because now we are undertaking the 3rd review of the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging. We submitted a survey to all governments, but actually it should not be that governments feel that they have to report to the UN. Actually, it should trigger a process within the countries. And this would be an ideal case if it, for example, promotes a parliamentary debate, if parliamentarians actually ask their government to report to them, because governments should be accountable to their own people what they have done, and governments should report, because we are aware if governments fill a survey to the UN, they all want to look good. That's normal. But you as parliamentarians, you have the capacity really to challenge your government. So what parliamentarians can also do? You have the advantage that you have a constituency and listen to people and listen to what people really want in some cases, governments have already become far away from what people really want, and it is your role to submit proposals that really meet the needs of people. And also, parliamentarians in the opposition have an important role. Opposition doesn't mean wait for the next elections. It really means the opposition has a chance to contribute to shaping policies and make them better from their perspective. So that's also a very important role, and this also that's why parliaments have different parties in an ideal case, and that we have policies that reflect consensus in society. Another important role for parliamentarians would be the other way around, communicate government policies to people and also to older people. Not all policies that are needed to address aging societies are always in the interest of the current older people. For example, increasing the pensions age. It's usually a very difficult issue, and this is why many countries don't want to touch it, because it generates protest. But it is important that governments, including parliamentarians, communicate to people why the pensions age has to be increased, or why contributions have to be increased. This is something people usually don't like, but will be in their interest at the end of the day. So what some thoughts I put down when listening to presentations and also listening to some of the discussions yesterday is how to strengthen the family function. And I think this is an important point that comes up. I heard in the presentations now the key responsibility for older person's care is with the family. And we heard from Bangladesh, there is a Parents' Care Act in some countries, it's in the constitution. But what I have not heard so far in these past 1.5 days, how actually governments support families to be able to provide care. It seems to me that it is still taken for granted that families are really in a position to provide this care. And I don't think it is possible to take it for granted in the future. So we need to think of policy options how to support families. For example, tax incentives, or we need possibly more flexible working hours, maybe work from home, that caretakers can work from home, or introduce something like similar to a maternity leave, parents' care leave or something like that. But then again, this has a lot of gender implications. So number one, the main responsibilities should not only be with women. For example, I saw it in the Thailand presentation, 50% of caretakers are daughters. And why is it women only? So maybe we should provide incentives for male relatives to provide care. And then again, my worry, if I talk about more flexible working hours, if it still remains women to be the main caretakers, that it creates a disadvantage for them on the labor market. This is something very subtle, but many employers would not like to employ a woman. It's an old thing that she might become pregnant, and then in addition to this, and she might be able to have to care for her old father. No, I'd rather take the young man. So this is something when we talk about policies, we always have to think of the wider ramification of each policy, what it means. And we have to think pretty widely. But I think how to support families is something we have to seriously consider, and something I haven't heard. And I also heard from some countries that they actually want to move away from family support because they want to change their gender patterns. For example, long-term care. In Korea does not allow transfers to family caretakers. They do not want to support family caretakers, and the reason why it is feared that there's pressure on daughters that they give up their jobs to take care of families, and they want more women in the labor market. And for example, another country that has long-term care insurance in Germany, they allow transfers to family caretakers because there's more a need to promote this family support. So the context can be very different in every country. And one thing that parliamentarians and also the UN can do is exchange exchange of experience and learning from each other. However, I still think that every country context is very different. So when we heard from Professor Takemi, you have the advantage of learning from others. Yes, it's right, but I think everything is learning by doing, and every country will have to make its own experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Manisha. Of course, different country, different experience, but the similar thing is we are a parliament, and I think we can give our knowledge as long as we work in the parliament. Later on, after we hear from our second panelist is Mega Iren. Mega Iren is a head of division of the property eradication of gender division Asean. Mega Iren is currently the Asian Director, Head of the Division of the Poverty Eradication of Gender Division, and Acting Head of the Labor and Civil Society Division of the Asian Secretariat. She was previously the Head of the Social Welfare, Women, Labor, and Migrant Worker Division, and the Senior Officer of the Human Development Unit in Asian Secretariat. Iren was also visiting professor of the Asian Europe Institute of the University of Malaya in Malaysia, lecturing on functional cooperation in Asean, and was on the editorial board of the Human Security Perspective. Now is your floor.
Thank you very much. Being a representative from ASEAN Secretariat, I can't help but do some reflections for the ASEAN member states. Now, I'm happy to hear all these presentations. Japan and Bangladesh are the close dialogue partners of ASEAN. And among 10 ASEAN member states, Thailand is one of the members. The presentation of Professor Keizo really show us the picture of a high-income country with a much earlier experience in dealing with issues of aging population. I think we here in Japan, you started the welfare policy for aging in 1960s. So after 50 years of experience, you can tell that, oh, Japan has made mistake, and you learn from your mistake. Among ASEAN member states, I think most of us, we have not even begun making mistakes. Our population is still young in general. In ASEAN, we have 635 million of population. 40% is Indonesia, being the 5th largest population in the world. In general, we are young population, but some countries like Thailand, Singapore, Vietnam have shown early sign of aging. By 2030, all of the member states will have population above 65 years old, above 10%. I think we heard in Thailand, even 2030, you would reach 19%. Singapore also even higher than that. So in the next 15 years, the pace of aging population is quite rapid. The problem is we are not well resourced, like the case of Japan. You apply tax base and mandatory long-term care premium system. Among ASEAN member states, in average, 70% of the people are living in rural areas. Among them, majority are farmers, meaning that no existence of employment contract. The demarcation between retirement age and working age is blurry. You work as long as you are still strong. The rest, they are in small, medium enterprises, because SME cover about 60% of employment in the region. So those who are covered by the pension system is relatively small percentage out of the total population. The others either living out of their own pocket, saving. That's why yesterday we heard speaker from World Bank saying that in Asia, most people principles are saving, and saving. Living out of saving, severance payment, small percentage, especially if you are civil servants, then you are covered by pension. So saving is very important. Most of people don't have employment contract. They are working in the informal sector, which cover about 90% of the businesses. So what this picture tells us, we have different characteristics. Population shows signs of aging, but we are middle lower income, lack of resources. We keep saying that the financial expenditure is too little compared to the GDP. How much is enough? That's the big question, the $1 million question. How much is enough? And this is, I think, you being parliamentarians, I think it's easy for me to comment, but you are the parliamentarians, you are the one who do the thinking. Because I think in all ASEAN member states, if not many others outside ASEAN, parliamentarians are playing a very key role in approving budget proposals, although we have different systems. So I think aging in the middle, lower income countries really pose a unique challenge that needs to be addressed. We hear from Thailand, you are strengthening the community-based response, community-based service. I think this is also another situation. Professor Keizo said that in Japan, family support has collapsed. In the past, Japan relied a lot on the family support. In Southeast Asia, family support is still strong. There is still a conventional value that we need to take care of our elderly. But this might change in 20, 30 years down the road because of the education, urbanization, and so on. So for now, what is lacking is professional caretaker in Southeast Asia. We see countries like Singapore and Thailand and Malaysia. These countries import a lot of migrant workers from neighboring countries. In many cases, domestic workers are also expected to do multitasking. They are also expected to provide care for the elderly living in the house. That means they don't have professional training. In countries where getting domestic worker is still relatively affordable, like Indonesia, a lot of domestic workers are also providing care without professional training. So we really need professional caretakers, strengthening the capacity of family members. It's important because if we are to provide more home-based care services, it's expensive. Home services is expensive. We need to provide care in the family. Now, in ASEAN, we have AIPA, ASEAN Interparliamentarian Assembly. And I noted in the list of delegates, we have parliamentarians from Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam. I don't know if all of you are here in this very room. IPA, the Assembly, issued a resolution last year, resolution on aging. One of the very important commitments that I would like to highlight is the commitment to mainstream issues of aging into the National Development Plan. This is very important. I think this is the call in many countries. But how to mainstream? I would like to highlight the fact that I think aging issue is really cross-cutting. For example, I think inspired by the presentation of Professor Kezo about healthy aging. To what extent we look into the issue of healthy aging in a continuous manner since early childhood. Because I think when we provide good nutrition, have a strong food security policy, then hopefully we could spend less in the older age of our lifespan. Less expenditure for hospitalization and all those communicable diseases. So we are looking at the impact in 50, 60 years down the road, but we have to start in the early childhood stage, which means this is one of the issues that we need to take into account if we are to mainstream issue of aging in the National Development Plan. In the Rural Development Program, to what extent we look into the strengthening of the access to quality health care. Across ASEAN member states, we have a target of achieving universal health care by 2025, which is very important, especially in countries where most people living in the rural areas. So access to quality health care in rural communities is critical. If we are already elderly, we live in a village, there is no proper hospital with good quality that can handle our complicated health cases, then we really have some issue here. So I think these are the matters that I see important. The unique characteristic of aging society among middle-lower income, which give impact to the issue of access to quality health care in villages. Continuum approach where healthy aging should be looked at since early childhood, starting from the nutrition of children. And in response to the issue of family and conventional values, we need adequate number of professional caretakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mega. There is a document or somewhere in the WHO, they say the quality and the time of your breastfeeding will be affecting your old age. To highlight this point that how you age is how you live, no? In a way. We are pressed by time. We only have 15 minutes. It would be good to point as legislators, as lawmakers, to see how political will is developed, how laws are developed, what do lawmakers need to support the processes of lawmaking. One of them is knowledge, of course. One of them is what AFPPD is very well doing, sharing knowledge, sharing understanding of issues. No? But maybe take a bit the discussion on that. No? We have focused also, another point is we focus on long-term care because it's a major pressing priority issue that is coming in the coming years, will be a top of the priority of all lawmakers, budget makers, governments in the region. But maybe we can have a short process of questions.
Yeah, make a short. Can we start from here and middle and left side?
Thank you very much. I am
Association for the Aged in our country, working for last 57 years. And before coming to this session, this occasion, I was discussing some of our residents, because you know, at present, Bangladesh has 13 million older persons, and we have almost 1,300 accommodation for the older persons. So what they are interested to say, their think through me to you. Number one, our identity is always with the policymakers, and we are very much happy politicians and policymakers are here. Unfortunately, most of the parliamentarians and policymakers are senior citizens. Unfortunately, as per their suggestion, we do not have any ministry, specifically the Ministry of Aging Affairs. So they request, and we also request, to open a ministry named Ministry of Aging Affairs. Because you know, I am starting aging for last 35 years and working with the older person for last. I am working with the older person for last 25 years, and fortunately, I am learning about the critical situation of older person living with my parents. My father is 97, my mother is 84. And it is difficult to explain their situation. So number two, request from my father and parents, you should seriously think about the oldest old section of the older persons, because you know, it is totally, I don't know, it is very much hard to manage the situation of the oldest old. And finally, the persons with disabilities. Because, you know, one of my uncle, he was more or less a challenged person. Now he is about 70. And again, my father, he was very much active. At the age of 95, again, he has become challenged or disabled. So these three things, we must have one ministry, the Ministry of Ministry of Aging Affairs. Number two, the oldest old situation, and number three, disability. And finally, the person, he asked me, should we raise our voice that mandatory retirement is a gross violation of human rights? So we should think the mandatory retirement system should be changed. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the middle table. Please. Yeah.
I am Lakshminarayan Yadav, Member of Parliament from India. I think there should be three pronged strategies that have to be adopted. One, as you have all discussion among us parliamentarians. Another, you should impress upon the speakers of the various houses, because discussion will be held there. We will, of course, do our duty. But if you will impress upon them, certainly they will hold a discussion, as has happened recently in Indian Parliament, where there was a 3 days discussion on sustainable development. So that should be, and that will make aware the whole of the nation, because whatever is discussed in Parliament, it goes to the people of that country. Thirdly, there should be a bureaucratic, there should be an approach to the bureaucrats also, because they are the men who will implement it. So if we treat all these three strategies are adopted, I am sure it will become a movement that we have to do something for the aging. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
My name is Palanivel. I work for UNDP in headquarters in New York. I have 2 points. The first point is that the role of parliamentarian in active, aging of society. The first one is that parliament role is actually, enacting, designing policies. So in this regard, in my view, we need to parliament, as an institution, so need to create a number of policy, framework, which will contribute to the active, aging life. For example, many countries like European Union come out with the anti-discrimination aging policy. Basically, private sector company cannot discriminate for hiring people based on the aging, because some companies do not want to hire the people with 50 or 55 years old, 60 years old, rather they wanted to go to the young people. So therefore, Parliament need to create anti-discrimination policy for the aging. I mean, similarly, as somebody said that some of the retirement policy, some of our Asia-Pacific country was designed several years back. Like many countries, still retirement ages was 56 or 57, 58 like that, which was actually fixed 30, 40 years back when life expectancy was around, say, 55, 60 like that. But now life expectancy is higher, so it is a time to reconsider, review the retirement policy. Similarly, we need to look into the national pension policy. In the recent years, countries like China, India, all actually enacted a national pension policy, brought lot of the landless agricultural laborer, farmers, all into the national pension scheme by providing some kind of social, premium by the government. So many countries need to look into that kind of national pension policy. Similarly, also housing or transportation policy, or the, hospital policy. Like some of our actually, housing, which was actually as been highlighted by the honorable member from Japan. There is 30-40% of the people live in independent housing. When they wanted actually access to their house in apartment, they are not have access to the housing. They don't have access to the transportation. Many of the actually European or North American country aged people can take the public transport, bus and train, because all the bus and the railway station, bus terminal have wheelchair access. Whereas in Asia Pacific, none of developing countries have that kind of things. So therefore, when you build bus terminal, railway stations, or bus, even country like Bangladesh or Pakistan, please plan it with the 20 years in mind. Aging situation may come in 2030 or 2040, but when you build now housing or transportation, please do that. So therefore, as a parliament, when you plan for national urban policy, national transportation policy, national actually health policy, you please keep that in a long-term horizon and formulate policy. Second point is that implementation. Parliament also play a important role of oversight of the government, how the government is doing when the policy formulated. In many of our countries, we have nice policy, nice actually strategy, but when it comes to the implementation, there is a big gap there. So again, I think parliamentarians should bring the government ministers and everybody to the accountable and ensure that the parliament, the policies is being implemented effectively. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I think we not have any time because you must finish the 10:30. And now, Eliador, you can give some comment for this and close.
Yeah, not me. I think the presenters could comment on these questions. No, the role of parliamentarians, the different ways to approach policies. Maybe Professor Keiso, would you like to make some comment?
It is quite obvious that the major role of the parliamentarians is to pay attention on the governance and the leadership for this sort of issues, not only for the elderly persons issues, but the investment in youth and gender-related issues as a whole. When we adopted MDGs in 2000, we did not have the part of the governance and leadership. But the last year, when United Nations Assembly adopted SDGs, SDGs 15, FDGs 16 and FDGs 17, if you carefully read it, it's about the governance and leadership. This is the first challenge of us, how to strengthen the governance and the leadership in order to achieve many the objectives, actually 169 under the name of SDGs. In this process, our parliamentarians' role is decisively important to check the government, the policy making and implementation, and we can closely commit on the financing through the budgeting process. And also we are the lawmaker. So we have so many tools to affect on each policy making in each country. This is our position. But in addition to that, under the democratic system, we are a representative of our people in a constituency. Therefore, we have a dialect, the voice from our own people. So our role is a kind of a catalyst from the macro basis, voices, and micro basis voices. Just go between. And then we are ordinarily the generalist. But somebody mentions that our major role is to show what sort of a societies we are going to have in the future. In our country, just right after we are defeated at the World War II, we took 10 years to recover and then started to design our own society as a well-educated, middle-class society. In order to achieve these national targets, we created the policy package in which we introduced the income tax reform and also introduced the universal pension system and the universal healthcare system. And then we revised the purpose of our 10 years economic plan, not only for economic growth, but also for income doubling. And then those policies in the different dimensions has a synergy effect to create the well-educated and healthy the middle-class society. Japan could successfully create such sort of a society by the middle of 1970s. But after that, the policy package lost the sustainability because of aging. So this is the process of the development. So you are now getting into this process. But now we have to change our national target from the educated, healthy, middle-class society to economically and socially active, healthy, aging society became the major national target in 21st century. So we have to have the new policy package to achieve the new society in this new century. But policymakers and the parliamentarians' role is always we should have the long-term perspectives on our own society. And in order to achieve those societies, how we can combine different decision-making in the different departments, and then how we can take the role as a catalyst to combine the policy package under the strong leadership and strengthen the governance of our own country. This is the role of the parliamentarian. Without our effort, our country cannot develop in a smooth way. Thank you.
I think we are on time. Those inspiring and very clear words of Professor Keiso, in a way, summarize the role of parliamentarians, the role of the crucial role of lawmakers in adapting to aging societies. So we finish this session with this high note of the words of Professor Keiso, and we want to, unless you want to make an additional comment, Mr. Feroz or Dr. Jat?
Nothing to say, but we can say that we, the parliamentarians, we can change the world's situations if we want. That's we hope, and everybody will do. Thank you very much.
I think that the aging issue is very important, and in the future, it's more important than today. I'm agree with University from Bangladesh about the establish the Ministry of the Aging, but I think that I don't know that in this fall who come from the country that have the Ministry of Aging. In my country is a really, I think that is a big problem because my government is think about the economy more than the social, and in the social sector there are many sectors like women, children, or aging. Every sector want to establish the ministry, but in the reality, I think that it is more difficult. Such as the committee of my National Assembly now, we have a committee of women, children, disabled, and aging combined to one committee only. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the three of our presenters and to our panelists and Eduardo. Can you give a big hand for the all? And thank you very much. And when we back to our country, think about the aging, think about how we change for the future. Thank you very much.